Okay, so here we are. We have grown for the last 2 weeks some lion's mane, and
ooh, look at it.
it's quite impressive, I must say.
I mean, it is an amazing looking thing. Do you know what it reminds me a little bit of?
What?
Is a brain.
A brain.
And it's quite an interesting fact because apparently a lot of food that looks like, plant food, vegetables that look like body parts apparently are supposed to be something that's good for that body part.
Well,
so for example, I think gooseberries are really good for your eyes and they look a little bit eyeballish.
Well, look it up. Lion's mane in particular is supposed to be pretty good for your brain.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe the size of it, Andrew. You've done a great job, and that's 15 days worth of growing.
It did it by itself, and if you want to check back through our other bits and pieces, I did do a video about growing this thing.
And if you want to do it yourself, this is the company you want to look for, Merit Mushrooms.
Okay, so they boasted that it takes 14 days. We let it ride for 15 days. Only because we didn't have time to do it yesterday. But yeah, it's kind of like, it's got to a point where it's kind of stopped growing and the spindles have started to go. So it's quite a big moment. I have donned my mushroom picking robes.
Oh yeah, let's see the back of your t-shirt.
Well, it's on the front there as well.
Well, the back of the t-shirt's got all of that on. Nature's Odyssey.
Although that's not lion's mane, that's
like fly agarics.
Fly agarics or Amanita muscarias, which again.
And Andrew likes this. Andrew likes to think he's quite a
mycologist.
Mycologist, that's the
right.
word. I was thinking mixologist. I was like, no, that's cocktails.
Right, so we're about to.
We're going to harvest it.
We're going to harvest it.
And we're going to cook it and eat it.
Well, I'll tell you what it feels like now.
Go on.
It reminds me of Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark when he, right at the beginning, when he's going to get the idol, and then Belloc takes it, you know, right before the ball goes over him. So it feels a little bit like that.
Yes. You're about to replace it with a bag of sand so that the booby traps don't go off.
Yes.
Okay. I think you need a knife.
Okay, right.
So as you can see, Andrew's just harvested this amazing mushroom. I mean,
you don't know what to do to get that as well. I got shot at by some indigenous Indians. And,
did you really?
Yeah, and then this French archaeologist tried to take it off me as well, but I managed to get away in a biplane. And there was a snake on my lap. So
you did a fantastic job, babe. I'm super proud of you. Yeah. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to turn this into a lion's mane mushroom steak. So it's going to be like a steak and chips dinner. So we're obviously going to be turning this into some steaks. We're having some chips, some onion rings and some peas with it in a traditional steak type form. So the first thing I'm going to do with this, let me just grab the knife, is I'm going to cut it. I want to be quite careful with the sizes.
Well,
now,
it's quite
I think there's a bit here that is naturally wanting to come off. So I'm just going to take that off. And for the rest of it, I'm thinking maybe like thirds. It does reduce down slightly as it cooks. And it's going to be slightly compressed as well. So what do you reckon about there, Andrew?
I don't know, go for it. It's such a bizarre structure. And this is the first time we've done this.
Look how, it looks like some coral or something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we have cooked with lion's mane before. In fact, I believe our first ever video we did
You're right,
cooking was with lion's mane. But these were ones that we brought when we were down in Cornwall. And this is obviously the first one we've grown before. So there you go. This is the pieces that we will be cooking. So a smaller one here, that just naturally wanted to come off that size. And then these are the other pieces here. Now, I'm going to be making a bit of like a barbecue rub to cook these with. So I've got my, look at this, pestle and mortar. Beth got me this for my birthday. It was something I've been wanting for ages. I did used to have a pestle and mortar, but it got a bit old and manky. So this is a new one. So I'm going to be making like a barbecue-y kind of rub with this. So let's get started on that. So first of all, I've got some brown sugar. So about 2 to 3 teaspoons of brown sugar. Then I've got some garlic powder, so a nice heaped teaspoon of that. I've got some onion salt. So let's put a teaspoon of that in. And because I've got onion salt, I'm not going to put regular salt in. If you just have onion powder, then also add some salt, but that's just going to be fine. Some black pepper. So I guess about half a teaspoon of black pepper. That much is good. Now, we want this to be a bit barbecue-y, so we're going to add some sweet smoked paprika. A nice teaspoon of that. Slightly heaped teaspoon that was. Some mustard powder. Probably more like half a teaspoon. We don't want it to be too overpowering with the mustard. And we're also going to be adding some sage, okay? Now, feel free, oh, that one's not going to go in. Again, about half a teaspoon. Feel free to add herbs and spices that you prefer. You might want something with a bit more kick than this. This is kind of going to be quite a mild rub. So just do it how you want, really. You can, of course, buy a pre-made rub if you've got something already, like a little jar. You can buy those ones of pre-mixed seasoned mixes. It's absolutely fine, just whatever you fancy. So, gosh, the pestle and mortar makes easy work of this. Jesus, that's amazing. Right, so I've got my rub ready. I've got my mushrooms ready. I've also got my oil ready. Now, look at this cute jar. My friend Tina bought this for me for my birthday, and it's amazing. So what I've put in here is a blend of rapeseed oil and olive oil. It's about 20% olive oil and about 80% of rapeseed oil. So this is just quite a nice mix to cook it in. You don't want the olive oil to be too overpowering, but it's nice to have a little bit of that flavour in there. And of course, rapeseed oil has a really good sort of smoke point as well, so it's great for cooking. When we cook this, we're going to be adding quite a bit of oil to the pan. So of course, mushrooms contain basically no fat whatsoever, and a steak does contain fat. So we don't want it to be like unhealthy, but we do need to add a little element of the fattiness or the oiliness to it, so it sears up nicely and it browns off and it cooks how you'd want a steak to cook. Which sounds so weird for me to think like that. I mean, I've not eaten steak. I'm going to say the last time I had a steak was probably when I was about 15 or 16 years old, and I'm 45 now. So it's probably we're looking about 30 years ago since I last ate a steak. Obviously, we're not having steak tonight. This is mushrooms, but it's something I'm not used to cooking. So any steak connoisseurs out there, do please bear with me and recognise that this is not my usual kind of...
Don't worry, I'll tell you if you're doing it right or not.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that.
I'm going to interject.
So,
I've raised this mushroom myself. From
you have. It's like your baby.
Just a small spore. So
just a small spore.
Yeah, so I'm watching very tentatively what's happening to it.
So we're also going to have... Now, we've not made the other bits from scratch tonight. We've just kind of gone quite basic because the focus of the show is going to be the mushrooms. But just to show you, I've got some of these crinkle fries here. And we've also got some beer battered onion rings. Okay, so we're ready to start with our mushrooms now. I've got my pan on the heat. I've just turned the gas on. So let's just add a nice drizzle of oil into the pan and let that warm through. So these mushrooms will probably take about 5 minutes in the pan, and I'm going to put them in the oven just to make sure they're cooked all the way through. The first section of cooking them in the pan is more just to like sear them. So let me just see. I want this to be nice and hot before I put them in. So let's just add a tiny fragment. And that has sizzled, so they're all good to go in. Wow. I mean, they're massive. I'm now suddenly thinking, are these going to fit in my
Get them in there.
pan okay? I think we'll probably be all right. So, just going to let them sit there for a minute and start cooking on the underside. So, throughout the cooking process, I'm just going to be pressing them down slightly with my spatula, and this will just help to compress them and make sure that they kind of cook all the way through. So once they've had a minute in the pan, I'm going to flip them, and you can see they've already started searing up.
Yeah, sear the outsides, isn't it?
Yeah. There we go. I might actually need a tong for this. I think that the spatula... Oh, here's Elliot.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, you my sous chef tonight, Elliot.
Oh.
I am a chef, but don't call me Sue.
Thank you, darling. So I'm just going to add a little bit more oil. So when I'm adding oil in, I'm adding it to the base of the pan rather than the mushrooms. Okay. And then we're going to press them again.
We're compressing in the heat.
We are compressing them down as we cook them. Like this. And at this stage, I'm just going to add a small amount of the rub. So here's my rub that I made earlier. And we'll just sprinkle some of this onto each of the mushroom steaks.
It's more of a sprinkle then rather than a rub.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
If you rub it with the back of the spoon, maybe.
What is the sprinkle?
It's a sprinkle.
What's it composed of?
What is it composed of? Well, we already went through that on our
you'll have to
earlier
watch,
segment,
you'll
Elliot.
have to watch the video.
But if you really want to know, it's got garlic powder, brown sugar, onion salt, sage, mustard powder, and sweet paprika.
Now, Elliot's not really a big fan of mushrooms at all. So
it'd be interesting to see if he actually likes this when he tries it tonight.
Like I say, we have had lion's mane before when we went to Cornwall. But we bought it in a box, and there was all sorts of different mushrooms. There was the shiitakes and some other bits and pieces, some exotic sort of mushrooms in there. So it kind of got lost in the mix a little bit. So this is the first time we've just had lion's mane,
as it is. And especially a homegrown version. Right, this is up quite high. I'm just going to turn the heat down a little bit. We don't want it to burn, you know. We do want it to sear, but we don't want it to burn.
It's smelling really good already.
It is smelling really good already. So I flipped those. So now I'm going to add some more of my spice mix, rub or sprinkle, as you know, whatever you want to call it, to the other side. And these flavours, we obviously want them to infuse into the mushroom. Mushrooms are very porous. They're very absorbent. Oh, do you know what we should do at this point?
What?
We should put our onion rings in the oven.
Oh, okay.
Let's whack the onion rings in. There they go. Alongside the chips. So, again, a little bit more oil. And a little bit more sprinkle. Okay, and another flip. Okay, I think this pan is probably ready to go in the oven now.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to turn the heat off. And I'm going to pop these into the oven for about 10 minutes, just so they're cooked all the way through thoroughly. Unlike a steak, where you could just sear them, if you wanted a medium or a medium rare steak or something like that. With these, they are obviously mushrooms, they're not steak, so you don't want them to be cooked all the way through.
Can I have a nibble right now? Cut me a little bit off.
I can't see why not. I mean, let's just take a little edge off. Hang on, let me look. This is going to be sizzling.
I know.
Oh gosh, hang on.
Need a little fork or something. That's it.
Right there. let me get this in the oven.
That's the tiniest little bit of mortar.
Well, I know. So yeah, so here's your teeny tiny bit. It will be hot.
Hang on, slow down. Slow down.
How are you feeling about those flavours?
Flavour's good. It is quite rubbery still at the moment, but
yeah, it needs to still cook all the way through.
It's very small bits, but yeah.
It's exterior crispy.
Exterior crispy.
I don't think I had a big enough bit to really.
Well, you're going to have to wait till it's all done, and then you can have a nice big bit.
I think if I sneezed, I think it would have gone into the air or something like that. It was so
we're going to let that sit in the oven for 10 minutes. When we're nearly done, I'll get the peas on to cook. And everything else should be kind of ready all at the same time, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So we'll get back to you very soon.
So as you can see, just to accompany our lion's mane mushroom steaks,
Alexa,
we did get a bottle of Snoop's Dogg Californian red wine. I've had this stuff before and it's really nice.
Go on in.
And what I have noticed as well, that it has a cork, so you have to get a corkscrew. And then when you pull the corkscrew out, there's actually a picture of Snoop Dogg on the cork. Nice one, Snoop, you did well.
Okay, so I think everything's ready to come out of the oven. So first up, I'm going to get obviously, the star of this show out, the mushroom steaks. Now they're definitely cooked through, which looks great. I'm just going to remove them from the pan and put them up on the board here, just to cool for a moment or two. And now what I'm going to do is make a nice like barbecue-y glaze to go over them. So I'm just going to put the heat back on this pan and add some vegan butter in, like so. Just to deglaze the pan. Let me just, sorry Andrew, if I could just get in that drawer. Thank you, darling. And this will just bring all of the flavourings up from the bottom of the pan into the butter. And then I'm going to add some barbecue sauce. And this will just add a nice glaze that we can have with the mushroom steaks.
What was the barbecue sauce that we used?
Well, we used this brand. It was the Red Kansas City style barbecue sauce. And let's get ready to plate up some dinner, shall we? I'm sure you're all excited to see what it's going to look like. So I'm just going to grab a plate and let's dish up. Let's dish up a steak for Andrew, shall we?
Yes, let's do that.
I'll give you the biggest one. I mean, as you can see, now that they've all cooked, they're a lot smaller than they were originally. And if I just take a moment to cut a few slices, I mean, oh man, it looks amazing. Oh, should have probably done this on the board actually. So yeah, the slices of it look fab. It's nicely cooked all the way through. So there's yours. Now what we're going to need is the chips and the onion rings out of the oven. So let's plate up with some of these. We've gone for some crinkle cut chips. Of course, use whatever type you fancy. And a few onion rings on there as well. And of course, you've got to have some greenery on your plate. So we've just gone for some peas because that's kind of the classic kind of vegetable that one might have with a steak dinner. Like so. And then let's get some of this lovely barbecue-y sauce out of the pan. And we can just drizzle that all over. Oh, it smells amazing. So, there we have it. We've got our lion's mane mushroom steak with the chips, onion rings and peas with a nice barbecue glaze. It's good enough to eat, doesn't it?
It does look good enough to eat. Shall I eat some of that now?
Go right ahead, Andrew.
Right.
You're gonna want a fork, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm not an animal. I'm a human being.
A human being.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start off with the start of the show. There's not too much. Are you in on that?
I'm in on it.
Right, so there's not too much glaze on that.
How does it taste?
Try it with a bit of glaze. Now, that is something a little bit special, I must say. It doesn't have a real mushroomy taste. In fact, the texture is what gives it its steaky sort of feel to it, and then obviously all the sauces and everything, and the spices is what gives it its taste. But that is really about as close as you're going to get to a steak.
Really?
Yeah,
Is it
I
good?
think so. Yeah, it's really, really good.
Do you like it? Did we do a good job?
I think it's amazing.
And you know, the nice thing about doing this, the way we've done it, i.e. growing it and then cooking it, is that was alive. That was literally living just before we cut it, chopped it and cooked it. So like an hour ago, that was still alive and growing. And you can't get better than that, can you? With regards to like flavour of foods. It's a bit like when you grow your own veggies and you can just pick them and eat them straight away. They're always going to taste better than anything you get in the shop.
Do you know what? I'm really happy with those mushrooms. I think they're awesome. I'm going to grow some more.
Well, let's hope. So, in theory, our box that we've got should regenerate some.
Well,
hopefully we might get a second flush. And baby, if we do, you know what that means? I mean, that last box took 15 days. Do you know what is in 15 days from today?
it's going to be Valentine's Day, I know.
It is going to be Valentine's
I haven't
Day.
forgotten.
So maybe we could have a nice vegan mushroom steak dinner for Valentine's Day as well.
Do you know what? I'm really impressed. If you're going to be on a plant-based diet and stuff and you want a steaky sort of experience, that's way up there.
Excellent. So I can't wait to eat it myself. So we'll sign off now.
Oh, it's so good.
And dish up the rest of the
Honestly.
meal. So I hope you enjoyed that video. It was something a little bit different for us and something nice to have it because we've grown it ourselves, or Andrew basically has grown it himself. So enjoy the rest of your evening, guys, and we'll catch you next time.